Hello everyone and welcome to the 9th video in this series of videos which will help you complete the Level 2 Essential Skills Wales ICT qualification. Now, what we looked at in the previous video was the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to use to kind of promote the idea of why we want to improve, in your case, the common room, or in my case, the kitchen in a student house. So the presentation is there as an advertisement, so it's got to be informative, it's got to be eye-catching, okay, and it's really got to promote to the person that you're pitching the idea to. You won't actually be pitching the idea, but the presentation is there for that purpose. You've got to convince them as to why they should improve and why they should buy the products that you're suggesting. So what you need to think about is kind of where your slides are going to go first and what they're going to include. So what I would say is try and go for, I've used 7 slides in my presentation. However, I would say go for about 5 slides maximum. Okay, there's a few things we need to consider when we go to our presentation. So I'm just going to open that up now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open, and remember these exemplar pieces of work are actually in the folder on the pupil shade area, so have a look at them if you're stuck. And I'm going to go to my USB device and I'm going to find Stand Down Day presentation, and I'll open the draft presentation first just to show you. So as you can see here, first of all, I'm saying to the landlord, look, our kitchen has lost some of its flair. Now, this actual image that I've got is not anything I've taken. I've taken it from the internet and I typed in rundown kitchen. Okay, so that was one thing maybe you might want to add to your search log. Talk about where you got the information from. I'll go through that in a moment. Then I said, so what we want is we want it. Obviously, it's quite exaggerated, but that's what a presentation should do. You should be really convincing the person that you're trying to pitch this to. So I put that there and I said, you know, as tenants of this student house, we feel that some improvements would be greatly beneficial. And I've put it there as if this is what it's going to look like if we have the improvements. So what I've done then is I've also talked about why it's important that we should update the kitchen. And then I've said, right, well, we feel the items below that I've actually included in the spreadsheet, okay, would really help us to achieve this goal. The next thing that I've done then is I've actually just gone and found the appliances or images of similar appliances that I'd actually mentioned in the spreadsheet. Because there's no point in me doing a spreadsheet and saying, I think this kettle will be really good, and I've looked at this kettle and I'll tell you why this kettle's better, if you haven't actually got that information on the presentation. Okay, it's the same as I've done with the microwaves and the same with the washing machines here. Now remember, your example is different. Yours is for redecorating a common room with sofas, tables, chairs. Mine's more of a kitchen appliances type of feel. But the same principle applies. We're trying to pitch this idea of updating and improving. The other thing then again that I've included on the last slide is the breakdown of the cost. So this is where I'm trying to say, well look, you know, we can actually update our kitchen for this amount of money. It's quite a good amount of money, quite cheap for the appliances that we're getting because they're good quality. So remember, it's an advertisement. You're pitching an idea and you want them to go along with it. So what we need to do to show the examiner that we have carried out research to find this information and that we haven't just sort of gone off willy-nilly and got a lot of information, we're going to do another search log. Now I know that sounds a bit, okay, okay, it's not the most exciting task, but it needs to be done. It's really, really essential that your search log looks good. So what you could do is just do it in the same way you did with the last search log. Remember, it's absolutely important that you put your name and the heading in the header of the document. And really, essentially, it's the same search log. The date is the same, obviously depending on the date that you do the search, but we've got a date column. The search criteria, this time slightly different, is I would say your Google image search, okay, rather than just a Google search, because we're not trying to find information this time or specific websites. We're looking for images, and I typed in what I was looking for. So I said, right, well, I'm trying to pitch the idea of getting a Hoover washing machine, so let's find that image. Obviously then I've got the website, same as last time. Don't take the whole URL link because it'll be huge. Just take the first part of the actual URL address. Then what you're going to do, the information selected will be slightly different because we're not trying to find price, we're trying to find an image. And the other thing we don't have to do this time is actually take screenshots of all of the searches that we performed, because the images, as long as we've labeled them clearly in here, will be able to be seen in the actual presentation itself. Now the reliability of information, again, should be about the same. If we've taken it from a retail website and they're selling a product, they've got to have a really good image to go with the information. There's no good them having an image which isn't actually relevant to the information, so we know it's reliable. The copyright information is slightly different. This is probably one of the biggest differences between the two here. Now, what we mentioned before was that prices, when we were searching for the spreadsheet, aren't actually affected by copyright. But one thing we know is that images are. So if I take an image and I copyright it and put it on the internet, if somebody uses that to make a profit or puts it on their website, then I could actually sue them for damages or loss of earnings or something. So what we need to do here is state that we know that we're making an educational project which is non-profit, and therefore we're allowed to use the image without permission. And what we would do then in our personal statement is we would say, well, yeah, I understand the fact that images can be covered by copyright. However, if I was going to do this to make money, what I would do is go and get permission or take my own images so you wouldn't have to get permission. However, in this case, we can just say that we're creating this for educational purposes, and so we're able to use it without getting permission. So that's essentially all you need to do for the search log, and you don't need to do it for every single image that you use. However, you know, you're probably looking at sort of 8 or 9 entries into your search log. So again, just to have a look at the presentation, think about what images you're going to put in there. If you've got a sofa, which you've looked at from IKEA, put it in, because you've got to say, well, this is the sofa I want. This is the one I really want in the common room. I'll tell you why it's good. This is the price. It's quite a cheap price and the quality is excellent. So think carefully about the images that you're going to be putting into the presentation. Some of them, like I say, with this one, I just said, right, I'm going to find the most rundown kitchen because I'm trying to exaggerate. Okay? And just quickly to look at the presentation in its draft form, you can see that there's not actually a great deal of text in it. There's probably about the same amount of text as there is images, which is important, because in a presentation it's there to be eye-catching and support what you're saying. You don't want to have reams and reams of text in there, otherwise it's going to become boring, whereas a presentation is kind of meant to do the opposite. Okay, so what you need to do then, as a quick summary, you need to do your search log. You can create another new table, or if you're smart, what you'll do is copy and paste a second document into your area and open the second one and change it, and then you can just change the information inside, because the headings are the same and the actual header with the title and your name will also be the same. So that's what you need to do next, and remember, you need roughly about 8 or 9 entries into the search log. Just a little note here at the end of the video. One thing that I haven't actually mentioned is that it's vitally important when you're actually taking images and finding them on the internet, rather than just copy and pasting them into your presentation as you're going along. That can be a bit of a slow process. There's also another reason why you should save your images, and it's for one of the skills that I'm going to show you later. It's just a good practice so that if for whatever reason you want the image again in another presentation, you've got it saved, you've got it there, you've got it ready. So when you're taking your images, don't copy and paste them. You should actually save them into a folder. So like I've done here, I've got my presentation folder, and within there I've got my files, but I've also got a presentation images folder, and inside there I've saved all of my images. And it's an interesting thing just to show you here. If you were taking these images and you hadn't named them as well as you should always name them appropriately, like I've got here, is you should go to this little menu over here, and you can go to medium icons, where it will actually show you the images, or you could have them large like that or extra large so that they're easy to see, and that way you know exactly which image you're inserting. So remember, always save them, don't copy and paste them.